So, hello everyone. We are talking from the past because it's still in the before noon, but you see us now as the online opening of the exhibition of Mikhail Bushkov and Olga Bushkova in ISBN Bookstore and Gallery. We are calling from Budapest, and they are joining from Zurich. And the exhibition is open from today, and it's on view until the 12th. Until the 12th of March. And first, Mikhail and Olga will talk about the exhibition and their work and themselves, and then we will have a discussion. My name is Ráhel, and I'm based in Budapest. I'm a writer, and we are talking with Endre.
Hi. Good.
Yeah.
So, why don't you start from first?
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi Ráhel, hi Endre, and hi everybody who is listening us in the future. My name is Olga, and we are calling from Switzerland. So in 2011, my husband and I moved to Switzerland from Russia, from Rostov-on-Don. And my husband got a job in Google, and that's why it was a reason to move. And we didn't live before in other countries except Russia and except our home city. So actually, this is a time when I started to work on my personal projects. So both the work a Google wife and how I tried to convince my husband to have children. So in the exhibition, it's our first time to merge these two works. Misha's work, he will talk about later, and my work, the Google wife. Maybe Misha will tell something shortly about himself, and then we will maybe talk more about the projects.
Yeah. So I and Olga, we are from the same city, from pretty much the same neighborhood. And so we moved together because I got a job, as she said. And basically, the move was a very different experience for both of us because, I had a job. So, you immediately get into the world where you have new colleagues, new friends, some get-togethers and whatnot. And for her, it was a different experience because it's she didn't have that, right? And she also didn't have a right to work. This is a Swiss peculiarity because the kind of residence permit that we had meant that she had to do nothing for two years, right? And therefore, what happened then is that we both started taking pictures, but these pictures were very they were done from different perspectives. So she was more focused on the present, what she was going through, and the integration, trying to make new friends, trying to understand who you are in the new place. And for me, the issues were different. I was more looking at at the past, at what we've left behind, right? It's back then we didn't know that we didn't make plans, but still there was a feeling that there was a big change, right? And this is why I was focused on the hometown that we left, and Rostov. And the exhibition basically is our first, experiment in trying to put these two projects together. They are different in the way they are done, but they are done within the same context, right? So we think that they tell a certain story from different sides.
Maybe I will tell actually for people who didn't see or will see the exhibition, what you will see. So what I did in my project. So soon after coming to Switzerland, I received the email from a Spoogler community. So in Google, there is a community of partners of Google employees. So spouse of Googler employees, that's why it's Spoogler. And at that moment, this community was, I think, around 800 people. And now I think it's more than 1,500. So it's mostly women, but of course also men. And this is actually a very nice fact that this community exists because it's really helpful. So because, you don't know what to do. You don't know actually where to study German, where to go do shopping, like a lot of stuff. The language is also like different, like German, and in Switzerland particularly is a Swiss German. So it's a lot of small nuances. And so this community, they have different events organized already, also like from the members of themselves, like every week lunches, every month dinners, some craft events, dancing events. I don't know, like a lot of like lovers of pets, lovers of kids, like all different kind of. And I started to attend lunches. Every week lunches. And what I started to do, it started as an exercise, but then went to almost 2 years performance. So every day, every time during the lunch when I meet members of this community, so I brought a tripod and put a tripod and did the photos from distance with the remote control. So for me, it was like I had to do it every time. What was particular that like I just finished my university when we moved. I finished like applied mathematics and programming. Have a master's degree. So when I was introducing myself to a new community, I didn't say that I'm a photographer. I mostly was saying that I just graduated from the university. So this performance, after like 2 years of doing it, I started to be a photographer in eyes of my new friends, because I was the person with a tripod and a camera, all the time. So so I was photographing this meeting. So actually, I didn't do any editing during the performance, and only after I finish it. What?
There's a package arrived. I will pick up the package and we'll be back. Okay.
Should I continue, or just for the cut? It's better not to say, and then maybe we do cut. Here.
You can continue.
Yeah. So I was taking these pictures, and after I did all of them, I started to look through and try to figure out what is the story inside, and start to do editing and kind of reflecting on it. And I found out that there is a story of a woman who came to a new country and trying to do new friends, trying to adapt, trying to find herself. And that the community itself is very specific, and probably it's very typical for moving from east to west or from one country to another. And also for the spouse who is following her husband, who is professionally integrated already, and the spouse is just trying. So the woman or the man, like a spouse, is trying to adapt. So yes, and in the exhibition you will find you can see the part of this series of photos. The whole series was published as a book. And the book is also a part of the exhibition, which is called the Google Web. So at the same time, Misha was doing a different performance, so probably he can tell.
Yeah, so basically one of the things that is peculiar about moving from Rostov on Don, Russia to Zurich, Switzerland, is that these are like completely different worlds. So it's hard, they're like they really feel like different universes. And that means that you move to another country, and then you start going home like twice a year for a week or like 10 days, maybe 2 weeks. And these are like very short trips. And so they become very intense. So because you go back home, everything is familiar, but you see it kind of in the new light. I think like the feeling of comparing, like, probably first 1 or 2 trips, you just compare and like, is it better, is it worse? But then this desire to compare it kind of goes away, and you're just left with the feeling that, it's a different world, and you kind of, basically you miss it. But it's not only that you miss it, like it's not the feeling of nostalgia. It's like you realize that you do not have this, like in the place where you now live, right? You do not have the city, you don't have the friends, your relatives, like, and then you have the feeling that like you need to kind of preserve these emotions. You need to preserve this feeling for yourself. Like, because when you go back and when like in the place where you now spend most of your time, it's just not there. And so that's kind of, that's the problem. And that effectively pushes you to take pictures. And so effectively all the pictures I took, and I'm still taking them whenever we go, right? It's like, it comes from this feeling that, I need to fix it because things change. Like my feelings about the place change, I change, people like die. move, like all kinds of changes. And unless I take pictures, I'm gonna like forget, or I'm not gonna feel it again. And so, effectively, like the selection of pictures here, it's like, from a bigger body of work from the last like 9 years. There is also like a book coming, hopefully, but the current selection is a part of it. And here we thought, that we would focus on this particular thing when you come back home. It's like a family gathering. Like it's something that we found like very typical, because you come for us, right? You come back home, and basically, and a lot of people want to see you because they haven't seen you in a while, like relatives, friends, and you end up in a series of this like small dinners or lunches, and then like this is the subset of pictures that is shown like on my part of the exhibition. This kind of feeling of a family gathering.
How do you feel about having an exhibition that you cannot visit?
This is Olga.
It's hard. It's very hard. So being honest, it's still hard for me to do exhibition, like to do the decisions, and also particularly that you cannot try. Yeah. So I'm sitting here in Zurich and in front of InDesign, and I need to say like 10 centimeters or 15 centimeters between photos, and I don't know. Like I cannot try. I don't feel the space. I was searching all the photos that I can find from the space in Instagram, trying to imagine, but it's all happening only in your head. And then you are really stressed out of all these small decisions. And especially, it's like, I think this small part of exhibition, which is curtains, is very particular for me, because they are not maybe... So why? It's because you need to, when we were planning the exhibition, we were thinking, okay, and it will be something in the middle where we will project something. We will project projection on it. There is something until I don't know, like 1 month or less before the exhibition. And then you need to say what it is. It's something. And then you need to say a particular thing. And then in such a way that, like, again, it's IKEA, because this IKEA is the same in Zurich and in Budapest. So I can choose the stuff in IKEA with particular things to try it at home. I bought all the samples and I try it. And then I can say, okay, you buy exactly this number, this is the name, and you buy it and you hang it. So these curtains, they also kind of start to be very meaningful. Yeah. So because they are also curtains that people buy here when they need to decorate their home. Yeah. So a new home, but it's also something that you can do by not being there. Yeah. So this is the only way. Yeah. So. And it's hard.
It's also funny that this attribute of global world is that we can check the curtains in IKEA, and then Beata can just buy these curtains in Budapest, right? It's exactly the same thing. But I will quickly add that it was funny because we worked together on this exhibition, and for me the experience was, I was for some reason much more relaxed about this. I was like 10 centimeters, 15 centimeters, who cares, right? And Ola was always stressed about it. But for me, the kind of the best part, I'm horrible with putting things on the wall. I'm like really, really bad, right? And so for
physically.
Me, yes, physically, this is always the most stressful part. And here, Beata and Aaron were doing the whole thing, and so for me, it was the best exhibition, because it's actually somebody else goes and puts it for you. So
yeah, I'm very sorry for all the needles for my part of the exhibition, that because it's plenty of them for every picture. But also I miss, but I hope we will manage it. I miss the emotional part. So I'm really happy that we talk right now with you guys, because I can hear what you think. You have seen the exhibition, which I haven't, in the same sense of it as you. And I think we are going to do some live visiting, artist is present. For example, one day of the week, we will be behind the computers and trying to meet online people who are entering the exhibition. Because for me, honestly, it's like I need to see the impression. I miss this a lot. So because I need to know and kind of see the impressions. Yeah, the impressions, like the reaction. Because I had the same experience. I think we lost. No, didn't post you. We still see you. I had the same experience a bit in September. I had my solo exhibition in Verona, which I also could not attend. And it was hard because words didn't, I got these messages, when people say, yeah, the exhibition is good or bad, or it works, it's nice, but it's not the same as you see people.
Because when you observe people who visit the exhibition, it's always you see here they spend a bit longer, or here they actually have some little discussion about something, right? So it's you feel from the way people behave, the dynamics between different parts of it. And here it's you're flying blind, right? So, but
at the same time, it's better to have it than not to have it, because it's as we said with Misha, it's our first time to put these works together. And actually, for Google Live, it's the first time to be presented exhibition. So it's when I did it, I was thinking about a book, and it was done as a book, but it's first time to try to present it also in the wall.
So for me, it's one thing that I really find fascinating about this project is the first question. It's kind of rather a comment maybe, but or it touches on more broader topics. But as you told Mikhail, that you deal with the past and Olga is dealing with the present. But based on the exhibition of the pictures and also the screening, I really feel that it's kind of not there, already not there, not here yet kind of situation, and there is this void of this experience of being present, because I kind of connected in my head to this whole Google family and Google community idea, that I don't know how you experience it personally now that you are there for quite a long time. So I guess it changed through time also, but it seems very artificial. There is this email in the description of the project, and it's I tried to imagine how I would feel if I got that email. It's it's already welcoming you in the Google family, and you're there as someone just left her home and his home also. You both did that, and you're not even invited, but already welcomed in this basically corporate, actually artificial community, and for me that's even more alienating in a sense. Mm-hmm. I don't know how you experience that, or what you think about that.
Two things. When you move, it's everything is new. It's it's coming to, even for traveling, and you come to hotel, and it's all very clear, very welcoming, but it's still not home, because it's a bit kind of transition point, So I would say that this is the same feeling when you come. You also live for couple of months in a temporary apartment, then you live also in your first apartment, but it's the only one you could find for the first year. It's not perfect, but it's also furnished and very kind of hotel feeling. So I would say there is this transition moment, and then you start actually practicing in, if I can say now, after 10 years of being in Switzerland, first moments is just practicing your language your communication skills, and even like not only German, even English was new for me. And most of the lunches I could smile the whole event, didn't understanding what they're talking about, because it's like we have people from New Zealand, from Australia, from America, like not only English speaking, and like from France, Germany, like I know South America, and they have all different pronunciations, so you just don't understand, but you want to be part of something, yeah, because otherwise you will stay alone at home. So and this is this first. I would say that people actually need to be part of these events, lunches, for the first 2-3 years. It was funny because I think after a year, the girl who organized lunches found a job. So actually, the process of kind of not quitting the community, but doing the next step is finding the job or some interest to do, like to be already more integrated in Swiss community, kind of like if I can say. So like the girl, she couldn't organize it anymore, but I needed to do my photos, so I offered that I would organize this event. So for the 1 more year, and actually then more 3 years, like I was the girl who organized these lunches. And of course, like after, I don't know, like first time it's interesting to answer the questions like where to study German or where to go to eat, but the new, always like the old ones are going out, the new coming again, and it's important for these newcomers to answer these questions, but it's kind of start to be, how to say, like, too much repetitive for the person who lives there for a long time. So actually right now the community is still like growing and exists, but I'm not so much involved in a community process right now. So, but yes, like the editing of the sequence of the book, of course, when I looked at it was done and I look at it, of course, I tried to highlight this different feeling of gathering. It also, what I noticed that like we always sit behind the table. Yeah, so almost on all my photos, it's just sitting behind the table, which is, for example, in reality in Russia with our friends, and what you can see in Misha's photos, it's like sofas, it's a floor, it's a different dynamic. And in these like smaller gatherings, it's mostly like this. We have some, how to say, like safe space for communication. It's the same safe and also some distance, because people try to get to know each other. And at the same time, in Misha's like world of his pictures, it's people who are already very intensely like close to each other. So and I agree with this feeling of being between two homes. Yeah, it's like you already left that one and still trying to build a new one.
You know, the whole process of moving, when you move with the large, by getting a job with a large like corporation or a company, it's a peculiar thing as well, because it's a kind of a safe adventure, right? So it's kind of one thing is kind of you go through a big thing like emotionally, but everything is taken care of more or less, right? So it's like there's no danger. The risk is kind of minimal. So the only risk is like within yourself.
Can you or me tell more what actually what is safe? Like
so what is safe? It means that you like the process is handled by the company. You get like a temporary apartment. You get like somebody who help you to open like bank account, register everywhere, and then also the thing is that you have the job, and so you have the income to stay in the country, and like no problems with that. So it's a very stable situation. The only thing that is unstable is because you've left home, you don't know the language, you don't have friends on the new place. You have to like find them somehow, and basically, so in a way, it becomes about you get a lot of time and material for understanding who you are, kind of, because now whenever you meet somebody. So suddenly, for example, you realize that the first thing about you is that you're Russian, right? Because this is what's the first topic of any conversation when new people meet, and like who are obviously not from Zurich. Then, hey, where you come from? Like I'm from Russia, and then like this becomes your main characteristic, and this is something that you have to work with. And so, for example, one of the things is that you suddenly realize that, hey, like maybe I should, read some Russian classics or listen to some like Russian music, because I kind of didn't do that when I was in Russia, and now maybe I should. So stuff like this. And basically, I think the peculiar thing about Google Wives meetings, the Spooglers meetings, is that basically the only reason why these people are together is because their partners are working in the same company. So there's absolutely nothing. They might have absolutely nothing in common, like culturally, and they have to kind of, but they still have a reason to be there, kind of. So it's also, again, and it's again this kind of situation when practically it's like super safe situation, zero risk, no conflicts whatsoever. But emotionally, you go through a certain process because which is hard to visualize. And I think this is one of the things about the Google Wives book, is that it tries to visualize the process that is normally hard to see.
My first impression of the exhibition, but especially the book, was that it's a very subtle critique of the Western European liberal welfare state in terms of integrating, because as you mentioned earlier, that you when you arrive, you get this email from Google to meet up with the other Google wives and husbands, but with the problem of integrating is that I suppose that these welfare states are not welcoming but tolerating. But especially when I lived in Western Europe, my feeling was that I'm not welcomed but tolerated here. So I cannot be the part of that society. I can be the part of this artificial community, maybe. So yeah, my approach was a very personal one, and it's funny to see the same IKEA furniture that you buy when you arrive to the West, and it's a very interesting thing that these diasporas of Eastern European people are creating in the West. But I suppose, like we Eastern European people, will never be really welcomed in these states. So as you mentioned, that you're that the first thing is that you're Russian, and my experience was when I told where I came from, that I came from a dark, poor, vampire-y kind of place, and so am I, which is not so liberal and not so open-minded, I suppose.
Zurich, I think, is a peculiar place because it's like 50% of the population living here is expats, right? So they're not Swiss. It's like 700,000 people out of 1.5 million, right? So effectively, as long as you stay within Zurich, you can be sure that you will, so it's either we didn't experience any kind of xenophobia or intolerance, or we haven't noticed it, right? It might be both. But I also, we also tended, there were two things that changed after we moved. Is that first, we stopped saying at some point, like, in Russia, because we realized that Russia is so big, it's impossible. Like, we have to be precise. And so we started to say in our hometown. And the same thing is like when, we are not going to get disconnected now. So, yeah.
Yeah,
we are upgraded. So basically, and the same thing here is that at some point we stopped saying in Switzerland and we started to say in Zurich, because our experience of Switzerland is more or less, a few Zurich neighborhoods, like plus minus, right? Because this is where we live and we spend most of the time. And like in this case, like Zurich is like feels like a very welcoming city. But another thing, which is also part of the equation, which is important, I guess, is that we are here also in a certain bubble, right? Because of of the job that I have, right? It's like, you know, I also think that we see a certain layer of Zurich, and I think this question of, you know, there's a lot of this personal, it's a question of personal experience that depends on a lot of factors. So, and like the combination of factors in our case, it was such that, you know, we didn't feel like not welcome, for example, but it might be that, you know, it's just our story, right?
There's every year the research, how it's called when you do questions and answers. Michelle.
Survey?
Опрос.
Like public questionnaire or like
and like it's anonymous, but like it's always like a big percentage. I don't know if it's the most or the second or the third most reason why people leave Google and go back home is like their spouses cannot be feeling good in a new country. So it's still the biggest or one of the biggest percentage. So because it's it's difficult. So it's and the same as you, and it's like Andre said, like you start to like this, your country start to be your identity. Like even if you didn't want it and you thought that you're a mathematician, no, you're Russian. You thought you are, I don't know, artist, no, you are like you need to have opinion. So for example, it's also this force you to have opinion. So every time like right now I'm working as a photographer and go to different businesses in Switzerland. This is also my experience of not integrating, but to deal with the Swiss people. And the first question, if they know that I speak like from Russia, what you think about Putin, you know, like, so it's like, maybe I don't have opinion on it, but I must have it because this is what I start to be, you know, like a Russian girl that should have opinion about Putin.
What you just said now, and also Mikhail told it, that your identity you can have this identity badge that you are Russian, and that's your main identity. While we also talked about that you maybe can be less and less connected to that culture, to that community, and that's something you have that distance still. So it's really interesting for me that this kind of identity is not like, it's also some in-between space, you know, between the idea of a Russian girl or a Russian man living in Zurich and working for Google and your actual personality and feelings about it. And it's also interesting for me that you told about this Eastern Europeanness, because I think it might be also very generalizing or simplifying, because we have like really different cultures, but from a place of this kind of corporeal Western European hub of expats, and I guess many from Eastern Europe, it becomes this plastic category, you know, like Eastern European, and it's something like poor and wild and connected to Dracula tales and whatever Transylvanian mythologies, and you know. So it's just another comment that it's.
It was fun. A quick comment. It was also funny that, you know, these stereotypes, they totally differ depending on, for example, for some Swiss, Russians are like the rich, right? So it's like if you say you're Russian, it means like, oh, like you're like, you know, a relative of some oligarch because you're in Switzerland, right? So this is how you make it, and these kinds of things, and like there are tons of stereotypes about Russian women as well. Basically, but then for some, like, so it totally depends with whom you whom you speak.
But let me add some. I know that I'm very agreeable, but but the thing is like about stereotypes and this, for example, view on all Eastern Europeans. Let's say right now in our conversation we do the same. We say this West world, and actually it's different. Like France is different, Switzerland is different. Like US and France and Britain, they're all different. But for us, we also do the same. We say like all these Western world, all these West people. And this is what I deal with my parents, for example, when they also say something like this and saying like, but these West people think this and that about us. And living right now here and knowing people from like particular different countries, I know that they're different and they have these differences, and they actually being in the middle of Europe, like Switzerland, surrounding with Italy, France, and Germany, you understand that like they also have some issues between themselves. So they are not like just West, and they also have issues regarding like US. So yeah, we all do these stereotypes.
It's. I think it's. Whenever we go back home, it's like there's always a political discussion about this European Union politicians so and so. Like, Switzerland is not even a part of European Union. It's like we don't know, and so these kinds of things. Yeah, but for it's also maybe a problem of the size, because for like Russians, let's say Switzerland is of the size of our home region. So for people, they think that, so it has to be like a big city kind of, right? And it's hard to imagine that, you move 50 kilometers and you get a different language pretty much, right? So, and this is also a peculiar
I don't know,
maybe thing.
It's also like there is this phenomenon that you also said that you also live in a kind of bubble there because of the company and because of this community and everything. And maybe that's what is simplifying like airports, that they're everywhere, but they're pretty much the same, but still there are so many different people, but it's still the same experience. So maybe
I'm really curious, if I'm allowed to know more about your Endre story, like where you moved to and how was your experience?
I moved to Norway when I was 16. So I was not the Google wife, I was the child in the story. But when my first impression when I looked at the pictures, I just had that flashback of the feelings that I had, building a new life in a new country, and it was the same. It was the same situation because my mother got a job there in a huge firm, and. It was really interesting that Norwegian people were very kind to me, and I got a lot of help in the school where I went to, but I didn't really made a lot of friends. I was friends with the Polish and the Czech and the Romanian people, so it was kind of funny for me. And it's a very ambiguous feeling because I had a really good education there, and the country was beautiful, but that uncommunicativeness, or that the people were very kind, but always a bit distant, and it's I had always this question in my mind that me personally, am I personally doing something wrong, or is just a cultural thing that they know that I'm different? So it was very problematic in my head. So I had to deal with this kind of thing, that I'm cool with the other kids in the school, but they won't accept me as a real body or something like that.
Mm-hmm. And you moved back to Budapest?
Yeah, my family moved to the Netherlands, and I came home.
And how old were you when you moved back?
18.
18. Wow, thank you. So yeah, for sharing it, because I start to think about my son and all this stuff as well. Yeah. But also Norway is very like north country, yeah. So probably I also questioning myself if it's cultural or real thing, like to have the distance and to be more cold. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think it's a cultural difference. I mean, I haven't lived in the north, but all these experiences that I hear, and I personally have, not living there, but just meeting people. It's a different culture, really. Our culture is also,
Yeah.
Like this relativity thing that what I mentioned is that after 1 or 2 years, maybe more, you stop kind of comparing in a sense of like better or worse. You just realize that, drastically different, but hard, like, there are pros and cons, for example, you even on the exhibition, you can see the feeling from the photos, let's say made in Rostov and in Zurich, are completely different, emotionally. And this is, it's possible to say like, yes, one, it depends on what you want, kind of, right? So but it's kind of, it's a choice which environment you stay in, and then you have to deal with the consequences. So if you miss the emotional family gatherings, then like you're not going to have them in Switzerland. That's it, right? But and then you have to make a decision, whether you're okay with it or whether you want to go back, and the things like this. So we kind of, I think this is one of the big parts. I talked with a colleague recently about it, and he said that one of the biggest things about moving countries, is that you realize how relative all your like values are, and how different values can be in another place, right? And this is roughly the case. I think we became very, very like relative, and we like with Ola, we often have these discussions, like when she thinks I'm too judgmental or something, right? Because it's like, yeah, it's really easy to start generalizing. So,
may I add that this we always have these discussions because we continue to live here, we continue to go back to Russia, and we always in between, and we it's like our topic number one to talk about it. And I think that actually Misha's project, like Zurich, and the book is going to be, it's kind of will be a highlight of this in-betweenness, because if I can say it, because where you see the whole problem of being in between is actually in a child. Because the child, like as we talked with some of our friends, that like we chose this thing, like to move to another country. We did our choice, and our child didn't. So he didn't do this choice, but he will be Swiss and Russian. It's impossible to remove from him. So like he always will be in Russia, the person who grew up, and we don't know how he will be his future life, but he grew up in Swiss culture, like really. And in Switzerland, he will be always a person who at home watch like Russian, and he is totally like culturally Russian. Yeah. So
no, he's not totally, but he
not
will,
cultural. Yeah. How to say, like, yeah.
He will have a big part of him that is like, yeah.
It's also like language, books, and we bring him like even like consciously and unconsciously. Still, we bring this our family thing, yeah. And so Misha's book, like right now, you see in the exhibition a part of it, but in the book it's also about the son is being born, and he is kind of this in betweenness, yeah. And he has two homes or one, I don't know. But then if we come back to exhibition, so exhibition is not about before and after. Yeah, it's like this airport feeling.
Yeah, and but it's also an important thing that it's like the photos from Rostov were made at the same time with the photos from Zurich. So it's not like here's what we've left, and it was photographed before we've left. No, like because the emotions with the feeling with which it is photographed could only appear after we left. This is another. It's like it's a catch 22 almost. So it's like you cannot photograph this place in this way, and you cannot feel about this place in this way unless you live it, right? So it's kind of peculiar position.
Thank you so much for being our first visitors and for your feedback and for your personal feedback. Like it's really, really what I actually will keep for myself, and I am super happy. So thank you so much for this personal feedback. Yeah.
But also if you have if you have any critical feedback, like feel free to just message us and whatnot, because for us this thing about having a remote exhibition is like getting feedback is very, very hard. So we would be happy to any kind of feedback, even if you strongly dislike something, we would be very happy to hear about that.
As Eastern Europeans, we are good with a bad critic and with harsh feelings. So.
Exactly.
But I don't have any now.
I really like shout out to Aaron who installed the pictures.
Yeah,
I really like the part with the curtain.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice.
And I think it was improvisation from Aaron and Beata that it went very nice with not cutting it. So the way it's a bit rough right now, I'm really it's improvisation during the installing. So I'm happy about it as well. So we must say loud thank you to Beata and Aaron.
So thank you for chatting with us.
Yeah, I'm happy to meet you guys.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you for the talk. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, and goodbye.